Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight. Prime Minister Philip Davis arrives at a global climate change summit, and our news is there with the latest. Why the Minister of Health and Wellness says action is needed now. A crackdown on Bahamians in human smuggling operations. How Junkanoo will look a little different this year. Plus, Family Islands see a boost in vaccination numbers. Welcome to our news, the weekend edition, and happy Halloween. Thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain, topping news tonight. Prime Minister Philip Davis has arrived in the United Kingdom as day one of the climate change conference got underway in Glasgow, Scotland today. Our Vonnie Toot is at COP26 and filed this report.
As governments seek consensus, how can business action create climate impact? It'll take business and government working together to reverse climate change. Find out how EY can help you reframe the future to create a better, more sustainable working world.
The roads are closed and police are out in full force in the rain ahead of the much-anticipated COP26 conference. 25,000 delegates, 200 countries, 13 days, one city. COP26, short for the 26th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, couldn't come at a more crucial time as countries across the globe, including the Bahamas, feel the effects of climate change. Prime Minister Philip Davis has arrived in the United Kingdom.
Well, I'm here sitting with the technical team, getting an understanding of what the technical issues are that impact us as a country and where we are in respect to advancing our cause and challenging the world to look at what is happening to our country in particular.
Prime Minister Davis is expected to participate in several key meetings on financing opportunities. Here's why you should care. Hurricane Dorian killed at least 74 people and caused an estimated $3.4 billion in damage in the Bahamas and is not expected to be a one-off experience.
Yesterday was us, and tomorrow it could be them.
As the Prime Minister put it, countries like the Bahamas bear almost no responsibility for climate change, but are uniquely vulnerable to its impacts. Climate adaptation and mitigation finance will allow the Bahamas to transition to renewable energy and to build for resilience.
The cost to adapt and to mitigate in respect to the consequences of climate change is humongous and beyond our means in many respects. And so we want to be able to sensitize them to that, and we need our voices heard to ensure that they pay for what is happening to small island states like ourselves.
Here in Glasgow, there was a steady stream of delegates as the ceremonial opening got underway.
With respect to adaptation, we need to significantly increase financial support, especially for the most vulnerable countries.
COP26 will be jam-packed with sessions until November 12. Reporting from Glasgow, Scotland for our news, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Well, police confirming with media today that the third victim in that Fort Fincastle shooting has succumbed to his injuries. Switching gears, as the country continues its fight in the spread against COVID-19, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael DARVILLE says his ministry is now working to boost another aspect of Bahamian health.
We have one of the most unhealthy populations in the region, and we knew it even before becoming government. The facts are there, the research is clear, and this is one of the reasons why the Ministry of Health has now been renamed as the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Wellness is absolutely necessary because if we stay on this same trajectory with chronic non-communicable diseases, it will begin to balloon our resources in order to be able to handle the health crisis that would follow.
The health minister making his remarks as he appeared on this week's episode of On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer. According to DARVILLE, the next step is to strengthen the wellness arm to combat the growth of non-communicable diseases, which include heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. Back in 2016, non-communicable diseases made up to 74% of deaths in the Bahamas. The prevalence of those diseases is also affected by environmental and behavioral factors, including diet, physical exercise, and alcohol use.
In this term in office, we would be developing a stronger arm to address the issue of wellness. This was brought to our attention during our last administration prior to the launch of NHI. And we realized that we need to do a better job in educating our people on lifestyle changes that will improve the quality of health and prevent many people from falling into the trap of non-communicable diseases.
The Royal Bahamas Defense Force is moving to crack down on the smuggling of migrants to and through the Bahamas. This as the RBDF recently installed a new maritime surveillance system to help to protect the country's borders. Our Bethany McDermott reports.
Defense Force Commodore Raymond King says human smuggling operations are being detected in the Bahamas, with some Bahamians attempting to smuggle migrants to the United States.
In the northern Bahamas, we have seen a number of Bahamians. They've been arrested for trying to smuggle mixed nationalities from New Providence to Bimini, in Grand Bahama and across the United States of America.
His comments shadowed the apprehension of 47 Haitian migrants Wednesday night. Around 9:15 that night, 12 migrants, including 3 men, 2 females, and 1 baby, were taken into custody while the group escaped on a vessel. Fast forward to about 11:45 that night, and the HMBS Madeira intercepted that fleeing vessel with 37 Haitian nationals on board.
Given the nature of the nationalities and with it originating from here, they would more than likely be headed to the United States.
A statement from the Department of Immigration says the group consisted of 21 men, 11 women, and 5 children. But King says there were people of other nationalities on board that vessel.
On one of the vessels, we had about 25 Haitian nationals, and on the other vessel, we had mixed nationalities.
Mixed as in which one? Bahamian, Dominican, mixed?
No. Talking about international citizens who more than likely would have entered our shores legally and more than likely overstayed with the intent of being smuggled to the United States.
National Security Minister Wayne Monroe likened Bahamians that assist in these activities to modern-day pirates. He says the radar installation at the RBDF base will deter this type of behavior and apprehend those who still try.
Historically, Wood Rogers said he is credited as expelling the pirates, right? Back in his day, pirates expelled, commerce restored. Well, the fact that you may have some modern-day pirates just tell us that we have not expelled all of them. And so persons will seek to traffic in persons, traffic in drugs, will seek to poach. And a whole part of this radar installation and upgrading the institutional capacity of the Defense Force is, in fact, to deter that behavior.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
For a second year, there will be no big Junkanoo parade on Bay Street. However, it's not all bad news. Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence chairman says that groups met last week to continue work and have scaled back to a virtual platform that will still allow Bahamians to enjoy Junkanoo somehow this Christmas season.
How is our Christmas Junkanoo-wise looking this year? Well, of course, Carl, there won't be any traditional parades. Next week, we have a lot of exciting news coming up. We're putting the final plans and the final touches in place for a Junkanoo experience that I'm sure the Bahamian people will enjoy. I don't want to give too much out right now, but we have a virtual presentation that will be planned next year to be really nice. And we have a special surprise for the Bahamian people that I can't disclose yet.
Miller says from what he sees so far, it will be a wonderful experience once it's executed. He says although this isn't the ideal way for Bahamians to experience Junkanoo, it's the safest way for now.
Bahamians this year on the island of Providence will get some sense of Junkanoo as they can see, feel, and touch the costumes this year as opposed to last year. It won't be in person. It won't be, but it won't be an in-person parade.
Still to come on our News Weekend, the Family Islands boast of thousands of fully vaccinated residents, free rapid testing for COVID-19 on the Berry Islands, and a crackdown on dumping on Grand Bahama. That's all coming up when our News Weekend returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Vaccination sites in the Family Islands are running independent of New Providence, marking a major milestone for the National COVID Vaccine Committee, according to Deputy Chair Ed Fields. With sites like Abaco seeing up to 400 people, Fields says that those sites are doing extremely well.
The Family Islands are actually, in my view, a little bit more ahead of the game because they're now in a position where the public facilities, the clinics, etc., we would go to do the one-day campaigns, and now in a position to set up their own slot appointments, schedule their own appointments, and to administer vaccine on a regular basis. All we need to do is to send vaccine to them. So we have gone through that exercise, which to me is mammoth. Of being able to put Family Island medical personnel in a position where they're independent of Nassau.
Eleuthera, Abaco, and Exuma are leading the Family Islands in the number of people who are fully vaccinated. Eleuthera has vaccinated more than 4,600, Abaco with 3,900, and Exuma with around 2,500 residents. Fields says that he's also pleased that they have continuously been in the vaccine program, even though there's been a change in government.
Even though there's been a change in administration, the continuity of the administration of the vaccine has not been impacted. We are continuing to work as we are. We've been gotten very good support from the minister, from the permanent secretary, and from the government overall in terms of continuing what we do and managing what we do without any sort of major adjustments.
Meanwhile, free COVID-19 testing began on the Berry Islands on Friday, with Member of Parliament Leonardo Lightbourne snagging one of the first spots at the Bullocks Harbour Community Centre.
Just here now taking part in our free COVID testing here in the Berry Islands. I encourage all the constituents to come out and support. We have this going on today and tomorrow as well. So you see, I'm here. I'm getting my doses. I'm being a part of the process. So I encourage everybody to come out, and always remain the social distance, wear masks, sanitize, COVID-free.
Residents turning out to find out their status, who applauded the effort that wrapped up on Saturday.
Testing here today. I tested here today just to be on the safe side. That's good, because you can check and make sure if you're all right. So I think it's a good thing.
Mr. Francis, why are we here today, Mr. Francis?
Free. Everything should be like this when it comes to people who's being doctors. Free.
Residents thanked the Minister of Health, Dr. Michael Darville, and his team for the access to rapid testing.
We just want to say thank you to Dr. Darville and his team for sending in persons to conduct the free testing here in the Berry Islands. Definitely something that is welcome here, and the residents appreciate it. Given the recent rise in cases here in the Berry Islands, this is something that is definitely needed, and I want to encourage all of the residents of the Berry Islands to take advantage of this service that is being offered here at the Bullocks Harbour Community Centre free of charge. And so thank you, Dr. Darville and your team.
When our news weekend comes back from the break, cracking down on illegal dumping on Grand Bahama. That and much more when our news weekend returns. Plus, a new Miss Bahamas world is crowned. The details when our news weekend returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic. Welcome back to our news.
The Keep the Grand Bahama Clean Committee is calling for an end to indiscriminate dumping. A rise in dumping has led to the committee to partner with police to prosecute those violators. Our Jillian Gray has that.
You're creating a breeding ground for mosquitoes that can lead to malaria, that can lead to dengue fever, that can lead to West Nile virus. There's so many diseases as a result of these, mosquitoes harvesting. In terms of rodents, there's a disease called tularemia, and so these are real things that can come about as a result of our actions and indiscriminate dumping. So we have many items here today that just goes to show you how, these things can impact human health if left unattended.
This October, the Keep Grand Bahama Clean Committee is celebrating its anniversary with a series of information initiatives, encouraging residents to become environmental stewards. Indiscriminate dumping has become a major problem for the island, and Akira Wilchcombe says they're ready to prosecute people to the fullest extent of the law.
And we've been meeting with the police also to get them on board to work with us to look at such matters because, these are persons, if you rummage through, you're able sometimes to find addresses. There is a $5,000 fine, and then there are continuing offenses for indiscriminate dumping in particular. And so there's also a $100 fine as it relates to ticketing for littering. And so, we would definitely be willing to work with the magistrate's office as well as the Royal Bahamas Police Force to bring such matters before the courts and to prosecute persons and offenders of such crimes.
Old water heaters, refrigerators, and toilets were thrown about through the track road. GLASGOW and Grand Bahama Development Company rep Christine Vanderlyn says it's not always residents doing the dumping, suggesting that those who hire people to get rid of their waste should demand a receipt from the dump.
There are customers who are paying truck drivers to drop off their fill for them, but the truck drivers are collecting the money and then they are going to and dumping it wherever they can on other people's properties. And that is a problem that is really serious because it can create health problems for the entire community, including the truck drivers. So we want them to be aware that they can take it to sanitation services. There are certain things that they can dump for free. So they don't need to be making a mess all over the community.
Wilchcombe says Grand Bahama has a sophisticated landfill that's more than able to handle large waste items. She's encouraging people who witness dumping to call the tip hotline.
We will eventually clean this up and have to block, this road, unfortunately, but this is just one of many roads. This week alone, we had a resident complain. We had also footage done in the Queens Cove area, another area. And so persons, are targeting these undeveloped areas because they're out of sight and out of mind to do these heinous crimes, and we want to call attention to it because we feel it's a serious matter.
And if the community sees something that is out of sorts, that they should call the police or call our hotline. They can go online, www.lasgo.org and 3509000 and ask for the DEFCO complaint line, and then we'll deal with the matter as quickly and efficiently as we can. But we really want the community to be pristine for investors and for our future.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Newly crowned Miss Bahamas World 2021, 24-year-old Sienna Evans says timing is everything. The beauty queen first vied for the crown when she was 17, but walked away as first runner-up. Now at 24, she's captured the Miss Bahamas World title and is now gearing up to travel to Puerto Rico for the start of the Miss World competition. Evans says, "This has been a dream of mine for a very long time, and to realize that it has finally become a reality was sheer joy." The next Miss World will be crowned on December 16th in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The RTV team wishes her all the best on her upcoming journey. Still to come at our News Weekend, another look at some of the big headlines over the past week. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
It's that time, and we take a look at some of the most memorable quotes and moments in news this week. First up is an announcement that many residents have been looking forward to. This week's commitment from Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael DARVILLE that emergency orders will come to an end soon.
Our administration will not renew the emergency orders once they expire on November the 13th. Already, talks are on the way with the Office of the Attorney General to devise fresh new legislation to address the management and the major health risks that can affect the Bahamas. As part of this legislation, we will remove and redefine the role and duty of the once competent authority.
The issue of police brutality taking spotlight this week as a victim who spoke with our news about the night that he was punched in the mouth by a police officer.
We came with the car. The first thing come with their mouth, are you a police officer? So I said, who sent you? Who dare to stop us? How you know in the vehicle to stop us right there and then? While I talking to him, Hall came out, didn't even know he's following us. And he punched me twice in the mouth. Well, when the dentist, they say my teeth and stuff are shaking. And by every day, 2 years pass, so my teeth start dropping out. But then my teeth start shaking. Right. So right now, even though I get that little lump sum, I have to fix my whole entire mouth.
Right. How many teeth did you lose already?
Well, say almost 9 now.
And finally this week we learned that value-added tax will be reduced to 10%, but breadbasket items will no longer be exempt. Minister of Economic Affairs Michael HALKITIS explained the rationale for a 10% tax across the board.
We believe that we can exist with a 10, with a growing economy, improved revenue administration. All right? So I think our idea is that we should be able to exist with 10 going forward.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful and safe evening, Bahamas.